So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it.
When I put the back, when I rose up to the city, and I put the city on my back, man, found, man. I know what motherfucker tripping, man.
Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had him put that 10K up. Told me to slide, told me to smack food, cause you know he got tired of in his mouth playing all the time, you feel me?
Well, it looks like there's trouble brewing. If you haven't heard, Yungeen Ace just dropped some bombshell news. He officially announced the end of his ATK crew. He went live on Instagram and declared, there is no more ATK.
Don't talk about a nigga like me. Don't get the man. When I say no more ATK, ain't no more, nigga. There ain't no more.
Naturally, fans were left stunned, asking, what's going on? How does a crew just end like that because he says so? Speculation immediately took off, with many thinking there might be a RICO case coming down the line. Some are saying Ace might be trying to distance himself from any gang ties after Fulio's death. But here's the catch. People are pointing out that it might already be too late. After Fulio was offed, Ace didn't exactly lay low. Instead, he dropped diss tracks, gave interviews, trolling, and basically turned the situation into a media spectacle, possibly profiting off the whole thing.
Fulio from Jacksonville, someone that you know, he lost his life. Where were you when you found out about that?
I was in the bed crying, like damn.
If the feds are coming, claiming you're no longer part of a gang isn't going to stop them. It doesn't help that earlier this year, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office confirmed Ace and his crew had been under constant surveillance.
So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it.
Many speculate ATK could be tied to Fulio's death, considering the violent feud between the two sides. Both camps suffered heavy losses over the years, including Ace losing his own brother. But it's not just the police Ace has to worry about. The Atlanta Rolling 60s have beef with him too. A video recently surfaced of Brick Baby saying Ace and his crew are banned from Los Angeles unless they apologize or else it's war.
Hey, none of you down here for BET, Grammys, anything till you clear that like you nigga.
But here's where things get even messier. Not everyone in ATK seems to be on board with Ace's decision. Some members are reportedly unhappy with the move, and all of this might just backfire on him. It's a tense situation, and there's a lot to unpack, so let's break it down further. On December 23rd, Yungeen Ace took to Instagram Live for an emotional and raw venting session, officially declaring the end of ATK and airing out frustrations about his crew. It was clear he had reached a breaking point as he passionately called out his team for failing to step up when it mattered the most. His frustrations were directed at those in his circle who he felt disappeared when financial and emotional support was needed the most. Ace didn't hold back, criticizing his crew for their lack of action during difficult times, such as covering funeral costs or helping the community when they lost someone. Ace also blamed the toxic culture of social media for worsening the situation, accusing his peers of being more focused on clout than loyalty.
When I rose up to the city, and I put the city on my back, man, found, man. I know what motherfucker tripping, man.
Not long after this explosive live stream, one of ATK's members, YBZ, responded through his Instagram story. He didn't hold back, letting it be known that he didn't owe anyone an explanation for how he handled things. I don't give a F what no mother F has to say, he wrote. Who sent something for my whole Fed bid? Who put something up for my 2 federal trial lawyers? I stood in the paint and fought with the feds. I don't give a EF if I lost. YBZ's message was direct. He reminded everyone that he had endured his own struggle, losing brothers to the streets and prison, yet he never turned his back on anyone. He continued, and what I do for anybody behind closed doors don't have to be brought up because I ain't do it for a reward or to be praised. To drive his point home, YBZ shared pictures of himself with his daughter from his time in prison, showing that at his lowest, only his daughter was there for him. It countered Ace's claims that no one was stepping up, as YBZ implied that he too had faced abandonment but never complained about it. Meanwhile, ATK Keys, one of the more recognized members of the crew, didn't directly address Ace's comments. Instead, he posted a cryptic message to his Instagram story that seemed like a subtle response. "They don't care about your sacrifices, only care about what you can do for them," he wrote. Fans speculated that this was aimed at Ace's accusations, with Queez possibly referring to sacrifices he made for the crew that went beyond just money. This vague post fueled even more speculation, as people believed Queez might have been speaking about personal efforts he made for ATK that weren't being acknowledged. Ace's decision to not name specific individuals left room for interpretation, causing fans and followers to assume who his criticisms were aimed at. But amid all the drama surrounding Yungeen Ace's declaration that ATK is no more, some people think this might just be a strategic move to distance himself from the group. Many are speculating that Ace sees a RICO case looming on the horizon, and this is his way of trying to avoid getting caught up in it. The timing is suspicious, especially since the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has repeatedly mentioned that they've been monitoring Ace and his crew.
So Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it.
If this is Ace's way of denouncing ATK, it's reminiscent of what Lil Baby recently did when he opened up about his past decisions in an interview with Lil Yachty. Lil Baby admitted that one of the biggest mistakes he made was tying his street affiliations to his music career. He explained that repping 4PF alongside people who were still involved in illegal activities eventually dragged him into situations he wasn't even aware of, just because he was the face of the group as a rapper. To avoid further trouble, Baby said he stopped repping 4PF and started a new label, Glass Window. Lil Baby's decision came after seeing other rappers, like Lil Durk, face major legal battles. Durk, for instance, is currently in a fight for his life, potentially facing a long prison sentence, partially because of his association with street activity. Fans are now comparing Ace's announcement to Lil Baby's smart move, suspecting Ace is trying to do the same thing. After all, the Jacksonville Sheriff has been vocal about their intent to come after Ace and his crew. At this point, it seems like only a matter of time before the feds make their move, and Ace knows it. But this situation has sparked a larger conversation about gang culture and the risks involved. People are reflecting on how many lives have been lost over gang affiliations, whether it's defending a block, a name, or even just the 3 letters ATK. Ace's sudden declaration that ATK is over has people questioning the deeper meaning behind it all. How do the families and loved ones of those who died for this crew feel about this? For someone to simply announce, "That's it, it's over," after so much bloodshed and loss. Consider how many young men have lost their lives representing ATK or standing by Yungeen Ace and his music. Many of these individuals didn't even know Ace personally, but believed in the idea of loyalty to the group. And the same goes for KTA, Fulio's crew, if they ever decide to end their group. To truly grasp the depth of violence between these two groups, we need to go back. Back in 2021, there was a song that everyone on social media couldn't stop talking about, Who I Smoke by Yungeen Ace. This track didn't just make waves, it shed light on one of the deadliest rap feuds brewing for years in Jacksonville, Florida. These Jacksonville rappers had this unique style of dropping clues about revenge killings in their music videos, often using beats from classic pop songs and layering them with some of the most sinister lyrics. Yungeen Ace and his crew took Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles, flipped it completely, and filmed the video on a posh golf course, smoking cigars and dancing while the lyrics celebrated the deaths of Fulio's crew from North Jacksonville. Who I Smoke went viral almost instantly, racking up 16 million views in just a month and getting reactions from all the big influencers online.
Who I smoke. Say it. No! Hey, Fulio, come get this.
Just, you know why? They ain't show one gun in the video. But the way they seem to be just nonchalantly enjoying life while clowning the
With such a bold move from Yungeen Ace, Fulio felt the need to hit back even harder. Fulio took a classic Fantasia song, remixed it, and for the music video, he printed out a massive poster of 2 of Ace's friends and his blood brother who had died beside Ace in a drive-by shooting outside a Japanese steakhouse. Ace was the only survivor in that car attack.
Who I smoke?
Who I Smoke came out of nowhere, went crazy, kind of made it more mainstream to where people who don't even know y'all, they were tapped into it.
How I took it too far when they made a song first. Speaking of, once the dead get involved, it's already too far.
From that point on, Foolio's crew and Yungeen Ace's crew began a back and forth of diss tracks aimed squarely at each other, each song embedded with hidden messages and taunts. Now let's set the scene in Jacksonville, Florida, the biggest city in the continental US by land area. Florida's always been a major player in the rap scene, but Jacksonville didn't really make it to the mainstream until these viral diss tracks between two rival crews put it on the map. On one side, you've got Yungeen Ace leading the ATK gang, which mainly runs the west side of Jacksonville. On the other side, there's Foolio, the head of KTA, also known as K Them All. KTA is an alliance between Foolio's gang from the north side and another crew called Young and Reckless from the south side. The beef between Yungeen Ace and Foolio kicked off around 2017 over what both sides say was a misunderstanding. It's a bit murky on what exactly happened, but it quickly escalated from a simple disagreement to a full-blown war. What makes this feud even more tragic is the number of mutual friends both sides had. While Ace and Foolio were never exactly tight, they shared friends like Queso. Queso, who is currently locked up with his father on charges for 2 MDers, including the K-wording of Foolio's blood brother Bibby, played a significant role in the beef. After Bibby's MDer, Queso infamously wore Bibby jerseys and took photos like trophies. He even released an album in 2019 with images of his dead rivals on the cover, like a twisted Mount Rushmore of fallen enemies. Jacksonville police, or JSO, are notorious for not solving cases. In fact, 70% of MDers in the city go unsolved. This led to the online catchphrase JSO loves Queso, because Queso blatantly broadcasts his actions on social media. Despite this, all of Queso's songs have millions of views on YouTube. And he was even close to King Von, so even appeared in that infamous video where Quando Rondo and King Von were joking around before their tragic fallout. Dirty But back in Jacksonville, Queso had built quite a reputation for his ruthless behavior. One of his most infamous stunts was trying to organize a real-life team deathmatch with his own cousins, who were part of the rival gang KTA. One of these cousins was Lil 9. Just a month after their heated online exchange, Lil 9 was ambushed while leaving a gas station. He was shot 12 times by a rifle from another car, causing his vehicle to crash into a nearby tire shop. Tragically, Lil 9 was pronounced dead at the scene. While people at the tire shop were desperately trying to revive him, Lil 9's friend, who had been with him during the attack, was frantically walking around the store filming the aftermath.
You played.
Queso wasted no time responding with a video, laughing at the situation. To make things even more twisted, Queso's blood brother, who was also Lil 9's cousin, recreated the gruesome scene from the tire shop in a video.
Get out! Get out!
Y'all fucking Y'all Y'all
60 days later, Queso dropped a music video where he put a photo of his own deceased cousin, Lil 9, in a microwave.
The biggest step of them all, biggest host.
The craziest part of this whole feud is that all these guys were once friends. Queso met Yungeen Ace in the 9th grade, and they have been tight ever since. But Foolio likes to remind Queso that back in 2015, he used to hang out with them, and even had the nickname 6 Block Queso because of his affiliation with Foolio's gang, 6 Block. Even Yungeen Ace admitted he was a fan of Foolio's music before their beef got out of control. But a series of unfortunate events forced everyone to pick sides quickly. It all came to a head at a block party in South Jacksonville, which was in Y&R territory. A crew led by Y&R Mookie and his right-hand man Slugger T. Ace and his gang showed up to the party and got into an argument with Y&R's leader Mookie. Shots were fired and a bullet grazed Mookie. Slugger T fired back, but Ace and his crew managed to escape, leaving the situation tense and volatile. To make matters worse, Mookie was already friends with Foolio's cousin, which made it easy for Y&R and Foolio's gang to form an alliance under the name KTA, or K Them All, with a shared enemy, Yungeen Ace and his crew, ATK. The situation in Jacksonville was getting worse, with the MDer rate climbing year after year. In 2017, Yungeen Ace dropped the song Go to War, which was pretty much an open challenge to anyone opposing ATK. Not long after, Ace's home got shot up, signaling that things were about to get really intense. But the real tipping point came a few months later. One of Ace's friends went out looking for revenge after he got robbed. He knew exactly where the robber was staying, at Fulio's cousin's house on the west side of Jacksonville. Determined to get payback, he snuck into the house by throwing a brick through the sliding door and entering from the back. He started shooting with no mask and no gloves, aiming for the robber, but instead ended up K-wording Fulio's cousin Zion and wounding a 9-year-old girl. This tragic incident marked the real beginning of the war between ATK and KTA. Zion's death was a catalyst that set off a chain of retaliations.
According to witnesses, Thomas broke out a sliding glass door, walked inside, and began shooting, hitting a 9-year-old and a teenager. 18-year-old Zion Brown died at the hospital. Investigators believe Thomas was not alone when he shot Brown and 2 children.
Not long after Zion's death, his sister was shot 14 times in an attempt to prevent her from testifying in court. Miraculously, she survived. The friend of Yungeen Ace who did the shooting was eventually sentenced to life in prison. But this was just the beginning of the violence. With Fulio's cousin being the first to die in this beef, KTA was looking to make a swift and powerful statement of revenge. Ace's music career was starting to gain serious traction around this time. His new song F That was getting millions of views on WorldStar in just a few days, and fans were already comparing him to NBA YoungBoy. Then, just a week later, tragedy struck.
4 young men were in this car when they were shot. The vehicle pulled up to their Chevy sedan, opened fire, then took off. And one is in critical condition at the hospital.
It was a Tuesday in June 2018. Ace, his brother, and 2 friends were headed to Wasabi, a Japanese steakhouse, to celebrate his friend's 18th birthday. Everyone was in high spirits, taking photos and enjoying the evening. But they had no idea that they were being watched the whole time. Rivals had found out their location through Ace's Instagram story, where he posted photos outside the steakhouse and even recorded his friends eating inside. Their enemies waited outside watching them, and then followed them as they left the restaurant and drove along the highway. When they reached a red light, the shooters opened fire on the passenger side of Ace's car, K-wording his 2 best friends and his brother and leaving Ace in critical condition. It was a quadruple shooting and the news spread quickly. Fulio got word before anyone else and mistakenly thought Ace was dead.
Them boy lost the Fortnite match. I got chill coming up, man. Cold summer alert, man. 2 3-pack, man. Ace pack.
Of course, Yungeen Ace managed to survive that brutal attack, but it left him devastated, losing his brother and 2 best friends. Despite the tragedy, the attention he was getting started to boost his career. Even NBA YoungBoy reached out to him via FaceTime to collaborate on a song. This motivated Ace to create his biggest hit ever, Pain, which blew up and now has over 60 million views on YouTube. However, the violence didn't stop. Every time Ace released a new track, his rival YNR Mookie would drop a diss track with the same title, turning the feud into a deadly musical back and forth. The situation got so intense that the Jacksonville police had to step in. They created a special unit called the Violence Reduction Strategy Team, dedicated to analyzing music videos from both sides, looking for any clues. The assistant chief even mentioned in an interview that the music wasn't just for entertainment, it was real and deadly serious. In February 2019, things took another tragic turn. Fulio's little brother Bibby became the next target. Bibby was only 16 years old and was coming home from school, just hanging out in his own neighborhood at the Hilltop Apartments on the north side of Jacksonville. He was chilling on a gazebo in the courtyard with a friend, both of them looking at their phones. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. The boys dropped their phones and ran in different directions, desperately trying to find cover. In just 15 seconds, 60 rounds were fired. Bibby was K-worded instantly. A year later, court documents were unsealed, revealing that the police had named Queso as the gunman responsible for Bibby's murder. According to the documents, Queso and his crew had been circling the complex for hours, waiting for the right moment. When they finally saw Bibby, they sprang into action, unleashing a barrage of Draco rounds. Queso allegedly walked up to Bibby, who was on the ground trying to shield himself from the and executed him at close range before fleeing the scene in a gray Nissan. Adding insult to injury, Queso had a habit of wearing Bibby jerseys and posting photos on his Instagram, celebrating the Emda as if it was some kind of trophy. This kind of behavior only fueled the hatred and violence between the rival gangs. For Fulio, losing his brother and his cousin in such a short span of time was a massive blow. The grief was overwhelming, but 2019 also marked a pivotal year for his music career. He was dropping hits that were racking up millions of views one after another, all independently. Fulio was becoming a significant name in Florida, yet he hadn't quite reached the level where he could tour the country solo. Meanwhile, his rival, Yungeen Ace, was booking shows across multiple states. Fast forward, and Queso found himself arrested for a completely different Emda alongside his father, who was charged as an accessory after the fact. The story goes that they were avenging a diss by a rival rapper named KTA Lil Buck. Buck had dissed Queso's older brother, who died in a brutal ambush. Two cars had rolled up on a van full of Queso's relatives, blocking them off and spraying 100 bullets into the vehicle. This feud was beyond personal. It was a vicious cycle of revenge that seemed never ending. Lil Buck was more than just a fellow rapper to Fulio. He was a close friend, and his death was a devastating blow. ATK allegedly got the drop on Buck, rolling up on him at 11 in the morning while he was applying for a job. It was a calculated assassination. Afterward, Queso posted on his Insta story, bragging, "I off the dude, then get my toes done." And this wasn't the first hit to happen at a job site. Another rapper, Jump Out, who had beef with Yungeen Ace and ATK, was K-worded while waiting in line to apply for a job at an Amazon warehouse. This incident inspired the infamous line in Who I Smoke, where they rap found out where he was working and clocked him out. The war between these crews had escalated to a point where no one was safe, no matter where they were. Shootings could happen anytime, anywhere. Fulio had lost a dozen friends to either death or prison. Mookie and Slugger T were behind bars, and even Fulio's girlfriend had been shot in the head. Yungeen Ace is still carrying a bullet casing from that quadruple shooting outside the Wasabi Steakhouse. Then, the hip-hop community was rocked by the tragic news of Fulio's death. It was a harsh wake-up call about the dangers of gang violence. Fulio had survived 4 attempts on his life in the past 4 years, but the 4th one tragically ended his life. Now the streets are buzzing with tension, and everyone's on edge wondering what's going to happen next. If things aren't handled carefully, we might be looking at another tragic headline soon.